Dragon Ball is a huge franchise that refuses to die. Dragon Ball is a huge franchise that continues to put out quality video games, except that most are mediocre at best and a heap of cartoon poop at worst. While there are a few gems, we aren't talking about those today. Instead, we are going to talk about the top 10 worst Dragon Ball video games ever made. And remember, all opinions are valid as long as they align with mine. So, there was an awkward time a few years back where the only Dragon Ball video games we got was the Budokai HD collection and the Dragon Ball 4 Connect game. I'll get to you later. But among this rubble came out a glimmer of hope in the form of Battle of Z. A lot of us were excited to finally play massive battles like no others. And yes, TFS gave this game a lot of praise, no doubt enlightening love for this game. But fuck, this game sucked. Don't get me wrong, yes, it is fun with friends, but jumping off a bridge could be fun with friends. So that's not really an argument. The game had an unforgivable difficulty spike and drawn-out fights. The only thing it had going for it were the color palette customization and the Genki Dama incentive. The graphics are also horrendous, and it really takes you out of the experience. Also, playing with friends was kind of the only option since the AI was just awful. That being said, the story mode was fun to go through, so I won't give it too much heat. Budokai Tenkaichi kickstarted my favorite Dragon Ball game series, but it hasn't really aged that well. The camera is really strange, and the game is slow compared to the future installments. It is also kind of boring, and the gameplay clearly needed some tweaks to make it better. It's kind of incredible it even got a sequel at all, seeing how rough it really was. One good thing I would give it credit for is the story mode, which I remember it being very, very charming. Also, the graphics across the Budokai Tenkaichi series didn't change that much, so they look fine if you're okay with that. I'm about to get crucified for this, but Dragon Ball Xenoverse is a bad game. Yes, it marked a turning point in the Dragon Ball video game series, but hear me out. With games such as Budokai 1 and even Budokai Tenkaichi 1, even if they are inferior to their sequels, there's still reasons to go back and play them. However, ever since Xenoverse 2 came out, there is absolutely no reason for anyone to play Xenoverse 1 again. Yes, it was incredible at the time, but now that I can look back without being blinded by the new ideas, I can't believe I found enjoyment in it, besides the new story mode. The RNG made me want to die, and the gameplay was missing a few little things that just broke it for me. Not to mention that the Bardock mission, which was basically unbeatable unless you had Rikuma's fighting Bomber. I still have flashbacks. I have Xenoverse low on the list because it's only really terrible in retrospective, and it did give way to a much better sequel. Ultimate Tenkaichi was one of the first Dragon Ball video games with a character creator, and it was amazing. It is still fun to play around with it, even today. The graphics help it a lot, except for Super Saiyan hair, which just looks like a bunch of bananas. However, the gameplay narrows down to an over-glorified rock, paper, scissors game. This repetitive gameplay drags the game down quickly. So much so that it's the only Dragon Ball video game that I haven't finished the story mode of. Also, there are crazy things in Hero Creator that makes the game ridiculous, such as a Super Saiyan fighting against Omega Shenron and winning. It had some neat ideas, but it ultimately falls completely flat. Final Bout for the PlayStation 1 is well remembered by fans as one of the earliest things from Dragon Ball to come stateside. A follow-up to the Butoden series, it was impressive at the time. I find the graphics especially to be very nice and nostalgic. But that's all there really is to it. The game is just boring and unimpressive, sadly. It had the most broken mode ever, which basically allows you to become Super Saiyan Jesus and one-hit KO everyone, which admittedly can be fun. But the controls are dreadful. The intro animation and theme are amazing though, and it does have a weird yet nice selection of characters. Sadly, this game is just lame, and it doesn't hold a torch to games that come later on. Perhaps its biggest sin, along with Ultimate Battle 22, is that they both meant the death of the Butoden series for a long time to come, up until recently. But damn is that intro amazing. Dragon Ball Z Gaiden, Saiyajin Setsumetsu Keikaku, or Dragon Ball Z Side Story, Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, should be a fun game. One of the earliest Dragon Ball RPGs, and the earliest Dragon Ball game, to my knowledge, with a completely original story. This game was part of the card battle RPG Dragon Ball series named Gokuden, that had some pretty good games, if not very difficult installments. However, at this point in the series, the formula was really getting old to me, and it was just becoming repetitive. Also, somehow the animations seem worse than the previous installments. Add to that the fact that the leveling up system is linked to story missions, and that Hachiya can only be encountered by beating Dr. Raichi with no items. This game is boring, repetitive, and just a drag to play. But thanks to it, we do have the mysterious Lost OVA, which was remade as an animation for Raging Blast 2, though both are still fairly underwhelming. Ultimate Battle 22 is a weird game in the Dragon Ball history. Taking animation cells and using them as sprites is a novel concept, but it wasn't executed very well. It was also released around the time, in the States at least, when the PS2 was already out, and this game was made for the PS1. The Japanese version of the game also had animated intros unique to the game, which were removed once the international release came out. So, yes, there is some cut content, and it doesn't look great, but what about the gameplay? I'm glad you asked, because it's pretty bad. The Butoden games are great in many ways, but something happened while trying to transport these games into the PS1 generation, and it all fell apart. The controls are clunky, slow, unresponsive, and the worst of all, just confusing. Overall, just stay away from this game. Dragon Ball Sagas fucking rocks. I have fond memories of beating this game along with my brother and hoping to unlock the Buu Saga. Now that I'm not a moron, however, I know that this game is really, really bad. Horrible graphics, horrible camera, repetitive gameplay, and glitches galore are what await you in this game. There are points where characters don't trigger the needed animation to progress, making you restart the whole level more than once. The sound mixing is also horrid and can get super loud at times. The music will stay in your head forever, and not in a good way. Oh, and yeah, there is no Buu Saga to unlock, which is always points away in my book. But like most Dragon Ball video games, the intro animation is amazing and tells the Dragon Ball story in a very charming way, with brand new animation. So, if you really want to experience this game, just look up the intro. The Game Boy Advance was home to some great Dragon Ball video games such as Advanced Adventure. However, there are two games that were so terrible most people forget they exist. I know people would expect maybe Legacy of Goku, but I haven't actually played that game. No, I'm talking about Dragon Ball GT Transformation and Taiketsu. Though I haven't really played enough of Transformation, so let's put that away for another time. Taiketsu, on the other hand, God, the game ruined my childhood. I unlocked everything, and I wanted to die. Just look at the graphics. Look at it. It makes me want to die. It claimed to be the first Dragon Ball game with Broly in it, which was a huge lie. It was also boring, slow, ugly, and just nothing good to it. Every character is the same thing, the attacks are basically the same thing. Just to perform a small key ball, you have to input a complex combination of buttons. I have flashbacks just from looking at this. Help me from my misery, please, God, just help. Finally, number 1. I alluded to it earlier, but yes, Dragon Ball Z for Connect was a game nobody asked for, nobody wanted, and I guess nobody bought. It was Ultimate Tenkaichi in first-person mode, but without the additions that made Ultimate Tenkaichi fun. Inputs barely worked, and you just ended up looking like a jackass instead of a powerful Saiyan. This game may not be as much of an insult as Star Wars for Connect is to the Star Wars franchise, but it is so bare bones that it might as well be. Add to that the fact that it is the only way to officially watch the episode of Bardock, and things really come to light. No matter who you play as, you feel the same. I could be Broly, but it still feel like a Cyberman. The repetitive punches you have to throw at the screen get tiresome, even though the game stays slow. The recycled story and gameplay of Ultimate Tenkaichi is also tiresome and it drags on. Everything here we've seen before. I would argue that only the Kamehameha and the Kienzan are fun to perform at all. This is a game I wouldn't recommend to anybody unless you were that eager to watch the episode of Bardock legally. But that isn't even that good. But that's just my opinion. And my opinion is law. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been SmugStick. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow me on Twitter @SmugStick. See you guys next time.